Hey there, this is about, is getting rid of the filibuster bad? And the answers are, not really, it probably won't happen, and if it does, in the long run, it's beneficial. This is Mark Heisted, I'm an NIH neuroscientist, and this is realistic optimism. All right, so let's break it down a bit. First of all, getting rid of the filibuster could have some bad consequences. In particular, it could have some bad consequences for DC. In fact, I'm here in beautiful Washington, DC, which is an amazing city where lots of people from different backgrounds live and raise their kids. And maybe you can show this video to your friends and family who watch Murdoch media like Fox, talk about how beautiful DC is. All right, so DC would probably be harmed by getting rid of the filibuster, and that's because there are a lot of bills being introduced in the House where it looks like they could well pass that would really harm DC, that would do things like destroy and damage the public schools and kids who live here, take away public services, and take away control over things like, the DC budget and the control of the city itself. Those bills about DC are anti-democracy, and getting rid of the filibuster does increase the chance that they could be passed. But on the other hand, the filibuster is not the way the system is supposed to work. There is an excellent book that you should read. It's called Kill Switch, that runs through the history of the filibuster. Kill Switch is, describes how the system was not designed to have the filibuster. The filibuster grew up in somewhat recent history and often has been used to block fundamental rights and civil rights reform. Another thing about the filibuster is that in some ways there really is not that much at stake, because the right and the billionaires that effectively control their party already can do most of the things that they want to do without the filibuster. They can, via reconciliation and a majority vote, can bypass the filibuster and cut taxes on the rich and do things like destroy and damage our healthcare systems, Medicare and Medicaid. They can do a lot of that through reconciliation without the filibuster already. They can also confirm judges. And those are the two main things that the right wants to be able to do: confirm judges and cut taxes on the rich. That can already be done without the filibuster. And we will need, the next time we have power, to do serious court reform and do things like add states, such as DC. And this is something that's been done before in the 1880s and 1890s. I believe under President Grover Cleveland, several states were added to the Union. And explicitly at the time, they realized that that was to change the balance of power in the Senate. This is something we're going to have to do in the future, make the country more majoritarian. This is a left liberal majority country with a minoritarian system. Those are things we're going to have to fix in the future, and getting rid of the filibuster will help that effort. Also, is getting rid of the filibuster bad for NIH specifically and science? For NIH, I think not. You can see that both the House and the Senate are looking at passing what is effectively a flat budget. They're not looking at, even the House is not looking at making major cuts to the NIH budget in the future. And that's because they realize that biomedical research is very popular, that cancer cures are things that Americans want, and that cutting biomedical research through the budget and having to take a vote on that is going to hurt them politically and hurt them in the court of public opinion. So getting rid of the filibuster is likely not to have a huge effect on NIH and biomedical research. It could be bad at the margins, however, in the short run. The last thing to say is that it's kind of unlikely to happen because the senators really do not want to get rid of the filibuster. The filibuster gives individual senators power over most individual bills. Individual senators can block bills that they do not want to see passed. And they really don't want to give up that power. They would have to change the Senate rules. A majority can do it, but it may happen, but it seems unlikely at this point. Still here in beautiful Washington, D.C. I think ultimately the thing with the filibuster is that there is a majority of this country that believes in the things that we believe in freedom and democracy and strong science and treating people equally and building a strong government that can provide services for everyone. And ultimately, we're in a situation where public opinion is what matters, and we're going to have to use that majority to rebuild a system and a system of government, a constitutional system, a government that is strong. And so getting rid of the filibuster and returning to a majority-based system of government, which is really what was intended originally, is not a bad thing. We're going to use the majority to rebuild. We're going to have to bypass the filibuster in order to rebuild. And so, it's probably an empty threat, but if the filibuster is eliminated, it's probably beneficial in the long run. Read the book, but don't listen to Welcome Pack and their data approach.